Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very, very special episode, which is in a way a throwback episode because we've got as our guest Grassroots Cricket's OG host Nawab Hassan Hussain Qureshi, who's also my good friend. And we just had to record this one, Hassan Bhai, because Kudrat has nizamed hard. One could argue harder than it's ever nizamed before. और बस क्या आपकी initial thoughts हैं? What are the feels like?
I think Behram, when we spoke about it last time, हमारी last बात हुई थी तो हमने कहा था कि we'll wait for when Kudrat is nizaming. And hey, I think Kudrat heard us, and Alhamdulillah, it's great, and it's always I couldn't think of a better person than you to be doing this with. And अभी भी थोड़ा सा surreal लगता है because you keep thinking to yourself कि यार ये नहीं हुआ कैसे हुआ. And yet we find ourselves वहां पे जहां पे हमें हमेशा लगता है कि हम नहीं होंगे पर हम किसी तरह आ जाएंगे. And to think where we were mentally, हम कहाँ पे थे जब हमने देखा कि हमें 400 रन पड़ गए हैं, एंड फिर उसके बाद पहली दफा शायद हमने किसी ने 400 रन खा के इतने सुकून से बारिश की ब्रेक में गए होंगे. So yeah, it's surreal and just really whatever happens, we'll always have that.
I mean, it's wild, right, to think that Pakistan is still alive in this World Cup. मैं तो कहता हूँ ऐसी चीज पे खुश हो जाओ यार. हम तो कब के बाहर हो गए हुए थे. मैं काम करता हूँ क्रिकेट में, मुझे ये टेंशन थी यार कि आगे किस तरह मोटिवेशन बनानी है, कुछ शो वगैरह करने की. देखेगा कौन अगर पाकिस्तान बाहर हो जाएगी? तो आई एम रियली हैप्पी दैट दे आर स्टिल अलाइव इन दिस टूर्नामेंट एंड ओनली पाकिस्तान कुड बी अलाइव इन दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ मैनर. लाइक ये इस तरह की कुदरत जो है ना, हमें ही निजाम बना कर देती है मेरे ख्याल से, और कहीं नहीं होता. ये वेरी वेरी पाकिस्तानी थिंग.
Absolutely. I think it's just like, you think to yourself, this is rock bottom, this is rock bottom. And then you think to yourself with how close that South Africa game was, कि यार नहीं यहाँ पे हम आए और ये एक मौका था और वो गंवा गए. And then for just things to happen the way they did, and hopefully they happen that way again. But जो भी होगा आगे जाके, और वो postmortems और चीजें बाद में कर लेंगे, we'll always have this moment from this World Cup.
Absolutely. And who's to say, it won't rain again, because there is a forecast. New Zealand, Sri Lanka में forecast है बारिश की, और बेंगलुरु में मैंने सुना है, धड़ाधड़ बस बारिश हो रही है. It's raining like cats and dogs out over there, and here's to hoping it continues, right? And it's crazy, Hassan bhai, how rain has saved Pakistan on so many occasions. Also screwed them over, by the way. 2019
Yeah.
में that game versus Sri Lanka got washed out. Pakistan were favorites to win it. Had they won it, they would have advanced to the semis. But let's go back to 92. I know that no one appreciates the 92 parallels anymore after the last T20 World Cup, क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा हो गए थे और फिर पाकिस्तान ने नहीं हराया इंग्लैंड को फाइनल में. But in the 92 World Cup, Pakistan were playing England in the group stages. They got bowled out for 74 and the game got washed out. Similarly, in the last T20 World Cup, if you think about it, we all remember Netherlands defeating South Africa. But how many of us remember Zimbabwe versus South Africa getting washed out in a game that South Africa was winning? तो एक ना एक तरह बारिश ने ना, I think net positive में ही रही है पाकिस्तान के लिए over the years, and this could be the hardest it's ever nizamed, right? कुदरत, क्योंकि ये तो कोई unreal चीज है. हसन भाई, I was sitting after the South Africa loss and I was trying to think of scenarios कि यार किस तरह पाकिस्तान का चांस बच सकता है, और मैंने एक पॉइंट पे बोला कि भाई इतनी चीजें नहीं हो सकती. Forget about it, they're out of the tournament. Literally from that day onwards, every single thing, every single game has happened or resulted in Pakistan's favor. It's ridiculous.
It's Kudrat ka nizam, bro. And I think anyone who doesn't believe in it, I feel for them. If you still don't believe in it, I don't know what it's going to take to, melt or break through your stone cold heart. The thing is कि आपको नहीं लगता, and New Zealand वाले scenarios में बेरा मैं भी वही सोच रहा था कि we have an incredible bowling performance, we bowl them out for 200, we chase it like this. जब वो उड़ रहे थे and they were literally flying, just the way our innings went, you kind of forgot कि हमें पिछली innings में 400 पड़ा है. It's just so surreal to think that हमने 400 रन खाने के बाद, and just to end up where we were and constantly worrying and thinking कि you're so far ahead of the, and then with the rain breaks and all coming in, you kind of thought to yourself momentum निकल गया है, मौका निकल गया है. So उसमें से वापस आके वही intent दिखाना, वही चीजें दिखाना, it's you can't explain it. It is supernatural. It's incredible. And like you said, if it happens, it takes you any further, it is definitely the most it's ever nizamed, for sure.
Definitely. I think it already has a solid case, because it's kind of crazy how Pakistan is still alive in this. But interesting चीज ये है, आपने mention किया कि we'll bowl New Zealand out for 200 and chase it like that. But I was of the opinion that you can't outbat New Zealand. This Pakistan team is a good team. आई लाइक दीज बॉयज स्टिल, सारे भी हार कर आएंगे तो मुझे इनसे प्यार रहेगा, मेरी टीम है ये. बट आई जस्ट डिड नॉट हैव कॉन्फिडेंस इन देम आउट बैटिंग एनी टॉप टीयर ऑपोजिशन, राइट. सो आई वॉज ऑफ द ओपिनियन कि यार ये 350 कर लें और फिर किसी ना किसी तरह डिफेंड हो जाएगा, 83 रन से इस तरह जीत जाए. तो वो मेरे दिमाग में एक सिनेरियो या एटलीस्ट प्लॉजिबल सिनेरियो बन रहा था. बट दे प्रूव मी रॉन्ग. आई वॉज ऑल्सो क्रिटिकल ऑफ द टॉस. आई वॉज सेइंग कि ये गलत की है, नहीं होना चाहिए था ऐसा, यू शुड बैट इट फर्स्ट. बट अल्टीमेटली what do I know, बाबर आजम could clearly foresee the rain. ठीक है, उसको पता था बारिश हो जाएगी, बारिश हो भी गई. और पाकिस्तान यार, they came out and they were like, ठीक है शुरू में शायद उतना तेज ना खेले हो, मगर बताया बाबर और फखर ने कि when they saw the cloud cover coming in the 13th 14th over, they got those permutations कि कितने runs इतनी विकेट्स पे चाहिए हर एक ओवर में उससे आगे. और उस हिसाब से तो उन लोगों ने बड़ी अच्छी प्लानिंग की. नाउ दैट्स नॉट समथिंग वी ऑलवेज एसोसिएट विद पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट, गुड प्लानिंग. And that I think is the biggest positive out of this, apart from obviously Fakhr sixes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that we kind of always felt in control. And I'll be honest with you, I was more worried about Abdullah getting out because the way he's been playing in this tournament, because of the fact that he's been our form batsman. I thought, okay, we got Abdullah out. Fakhr is just coming back in a pressure situation. Yes, he's played well in the last game, but we were asking a lot of him. Babar is having his own struggles. Are these two really the guys you want at the crease? When Abdullah is shown, I mean, he's the one who hit our very first sixes in the power play in 2023. And then, like you said, they just both seemed in control. And for me, it was when Fakhar took on Bolt, who so far in this tournament has been pretty incredible. And then just kind of looked in complete control. And then kind of Babar started finding his fluency. And then Babar taking on Santner, going for those big hits. A lot of people have said we may not have chased 400. Doesn't matter. We needed to be where we needed to be because of the playing conditions being what they were. The fact that we always knew where we needed to be and the fact that we were able to be ahead of it speaks volumes of the maturity that honestly maybe even a week back we wouldn't have thought. I couldn't agree with you more regarding the toss and batting first. I would thought the same. Yeah, get 300 on the board. Maybe we'll put them under pressure. Pakistan generally tends to do well against New Zealand. Fingers crossed in the World Cup. So maybe some of that starts coming into it. But the fact that we were in control and we knew what we were doing, that was the best thing to see. And like you said, Fakhar, just watching him play the way he was playing, honestly, I've been lucky. I've seen a lot of great one-day cricket batting from Pakistan. Saeed Anwar's 194. I've seen highlights, obviously, of Javed Miandad's incredible 100 against India. This has got to be up there. This has got to be up there as perhaps one of the greatest centuries ever scored by a Pakistani in one-day international cricket ever. And it was just incredible. Just the way, and that's so the over. I think that's something that's going to live in the memory for a long time, no matter what happens.
Yeah, that Sodhi over was really, really detrimental for New Zealand. Teen chhakke lag gaye, Babar hit a straight six, and then Fakhr, those mows to mid wicket, झाड़ू मारता है, पता नहीं
Yeah.
कहाँ से वो energy generate होती है. Hassan bhai, he has 18 sixes in 3 innings. He is at number 3 in the six hitting charts in this World Cup. Ahead of him are David Warner and Rohit Sharma. They've played many more games than Fakhar Zaman. वो 3 innings, and forget 3 innings, right? The first innings he failed. So practically in 2 innings he has 18 sixes. एक मैच में
Practically,
उसने
yeah.
11 छक्के लगा दिए, 126 ऑफ ऑफ 81, which is a strike rate of 155 plus, coming off of a really really good knock versus Bangladesh in his return game, which also is never easy. Comeback जब आप कर रहे होते हो
No,
यार,
no.
बड़ा मुश्किल काम होता है. ऊपर से when you have all of these pitchforks pointed towards you, Fakhr, you would remember everyone kind of wanted him
Yeah,
axed, right?
yeah, yeah,
So that's quite a
yeah.
statement, and it's a testament, I think, to his mental strength. That's what it all comes down to. And Fakhr is not a mental midget by any means.
No, never has been. I think that's one of the things people forget that Fakhar is someone who struggled to get to where he is, and he struggled really hard. He's gone on record as saying that the only way he felt he had an opportunity to play cricket was to do something as tough as joining the Navy. So
Yeah.
you have to be mentally very strong to be able to leave Mardan, go join the Navy, just so you want to make your dream of being a professional cricketer come true. And let's also not forget that he's come in for someone in Imam who, over the last year, has been one of your most important ODI batsmen as well. So there
Yeah.
is that extra pressure. Yes, he's replacing someone a bit out of form, but he's not replacing someone who has been struggling for a very long time. Go back 4 months or so. Imam was perhaps one of the first names on the team sheet. So to
Yep.
come in with that, show that mental fortitude against those against Bangladesh in what could have been a tough situation, and then against New Zealand in what was a very tough situation. He just came in and was absolutely dominant. And when he was hitting them, Behram, it was kind of like looking at a left-handed Shahid Afridi in the way how far the sixes went. And
And the
honestly,
sound,
I'll ask for
the
the
sound that
sound
that
off the
bat was
bat,
making. Oof.
and I'll ask for forgiveness from viewers here because my Indian geography towards the south is a bit weak. But those balls were hit in Bengaluru, but it looked like they were going to end up in Chennai. Those were massive sixes.
Those
Those
were
were
huge.
clearing any stadium. Those were not just the ones that just kind of went over. They're massive, and just to be able to do that to pretty good bowlers. New Zealand went in thinking, okay, Pakistan struggled with four spinners against Afghanistan. To come in and do that, I think it just lifts the entire team up. Anything may happen, you may end up being nowhere near the semifinals, but you'll always have this to hold on to, and you'll always have this as a reminder of why Fakhar is someone. We've always spoken about players having the ability to do something. We've all maintained always that there is something only Fakhar can do, and the
Yep.
sooner we can find more players with that ability and that attitude, I think it'll be better for Pakistan cricket. Because when it's a big game, you always see Fakhar performing. And again, in the big game, he was incredible.
Absolutely, it's a trend, right? You have the T20 World Cup semi-final versus Australia. Pakistan lost, but Fakhared, and then there's the Champions
Yeah,
Trophy final versus India. So precedent hai. Also, that South Africa series, if you remember, he scored two
exactly.
tons.
Yep,
One of
yep,
those tons was a
yeah,
193 again, and a losing cause. But 9 times out of 10, you'd say that Fakhar will win you games when he comes off. And boy, when he comes off, then Pakistan just look like a different team. वही वाली बात है हसन भाई, if you're a batter who averages 45 plus in ODI cricket and strikes at over 90, you're part of a very select, list of top order batters.
yep,
And he is very
yep,
unique in that way. And Pakistan definitely does not have any other player with that profile. Definitely the top order. Of course, you have Ifti in the lower middle order who has big boy power. Magar Fakhar mein bhi
yep.
koot ke bari hui hai, big boy power, you could say. And yeah, I mean, it's just great that he's come back into form, and he was exactly the sort of batter who could have pulled Pakistan out of this hole that they have dug themselves in. But एक चीज मैं ये भी यहाँ जरूर बात करना चाहूंगा हसन भाई, इसके dimensions ठीक हैं. They were small, okay? It was easy to hit sixes in this ground. The batting conditions were like, the conditions were as good for batting as they could have possibly been, right? बाद में ball भी गीला हो गया था after due, the ball was wet as well. But you chased down 400. There've only been two teams in the history of ODI cricket who have chased down 400. One is obviously South Africa, who chased it down the first time any team scored 400. And then this, even though Pakistan only scored half the runs, you cannot say that they could not have chased 400. Of course, we all know that एक आधी विकेट गिर जाती, फखर ही गिर जाता तो कुछ भी हो सकता था, लाइन लग सकती थी, all that stuff. But after the rain delay in particular, when you needed to chase down 342 and 41 overs, I think Pakistan were favorites at that point. And just like you can't say that Pakistan would have chased 400, you can't say that they couldn't have.
No, you can't. Also, keeping in mind that I think it was one of those times where you kind of felt we were batting really deep. Let's not forget if you have Wasim Jr. coming in at 10 for you, and we know Haris can hit the ball a long way also. You kind of, and the way, a lot of it would have come down to the way New Zealand would have been bowling. Now, would it have been tougher with Lockie Ferguson and Matt Henry? Yes, absolutely. With the kind of pace they bring in and with the kind of accuracy they brought in, but they weren't there. The
Yep.
bowlers that were there, we definitely looked on top of them. We looked
Mm.
on top in control. If you're able to take on Bolt the way we took Bolt on, if you're able to hit Saudi, and Pakistan's Achilles heel in one day cricket for a very long time now has been good quality spin. Ish Sodhi is a very good spinner. He's an even better spinner in Indian conditions, which he has a lot of knowledge about because of his time in the IPL. Just the fact that we took him down in that over, and then someone like Mitchell Santner, who has been so miserly with his spells, just Babar hitting him for that six, just kind of showed. Yes, you can't say we might have, but you also can't say we might not have. And
Mm.
considering you had, Ifti, Rizwan, Saud, Wasim Jr.,
Salman Ali
Shaheen,
Agha.
Salman Ali Agha, who, by the way, I should add, I keep getting this wonderful thing about how he's a talismanic presence in that every time we play him, including games where he doesn't get to bat or bowl, we somehow keep winning. So is Salman Ali Agha the missing ingredient in that we keep picking him and playing him, and somehow, he had a tough time with the ball for once in the last game, but he brings that. So you were batting deep. You could not have said that Pakistan might not have. You could be surprised. We might have even chased it down in 45 overs the way we were going.
Who knows, right? We'll never know. And point is that the history
You'll
books
never
will
know
remember.
exactly.
The history books will definitely remember that Pakistan did, in effect, chase down 400, and we're rolling with that. We
Yep.
don't mind that
Yep.
one
Yep.
bit. You
Nope.
mentioned how, Salman Ali Agha was that talismanic presence and he's like good juju or whatever. But let's be honest, Hassan Bhai, the hallmark of Pakistan's ODI success over the last 4 year cycle and even before that was Pakistan's top three. I know this sounds a bit weird
Yes.
to viewers and
No, no,
listeners,
it's
but
true.
that's what it was. Fakhar, Imam, and Babar were, delivering the goods day in, day out. In fact, if anything, you had a middle order issue for a bit in between. And now we see that Abdullah Shafiq, he slotted in beautifully. And, for someone who hasn't even played that many ODIs, it really seems like he's taken to ODI cricket like a fish takes to water. And even though he failed versus New Zealand, he's had a really really good campaign. He scored a ton versus Sri Lanka. He scored 50s on the regular. And then Babar Azam, someone who we would say has had a stinker, even though he has scored 450s. But we know that Babar is a better player than that. We expect more from him. But now, this might just be the innings which catalyzes his World Cup. You never know. This might just be that return of confidence and turn in form. You can't say for sure. But going into that England game, okay, if Pakistan's top three of Abdullah, Fakhr, and Babar fire, and then you've got your bowlers who bowled well in Kolkata, okay, they went for quite a lot versus New Zealand. But Wasim Jr., ever since he's come back into the team, he's taken 8 wickets in 3 games. In Kolkata, he got the ball to reverse. And even in Bengaluru, he took 3 wickets for 60 runs. So you've got a fit and firing Wasim Jr., who has literally done the most Pakistan thing ever. Mid tournament, he's cemented his spot. And the reverse part in Kolkata, I think this is very interesting because if Pakistan bowl first, they escape the dew. And
Yeah.
if you play four paces, because frontline spirit to hai nahi na koi at this point, it's probably a
Apparently
risk
not. कोई लेके
worth
नहीं गए हम.
not taking at this point. I guess we've seen enough, and I think like South Africa, we should also probably go with a four-pronged pace attack. How much do you think the top three and potential reverse in Kolkata could aid Pakistan?
A lot. It would aid us a lot in so that also, let's be honest, England are really struggling right
Hmm.
now. And I think there's the strangest thing for me was seeing an absolute warrior like David Willey announce his retirement in the middle of the World Cup because he's not been offered a contract. I kind of feel England mentally are in a very strange place right now. With the decisions to, was it the right idea to bring Stokes back when he'd retired from this format?
Particularly
You
when
know,
he has to have surgery. So you have kind of screwed him over for your test season because you wanted him to play the World Cup.
Yeah, and also when I mean the way Harry Brooks started, the incredible depth England have, then the fact that you chose to jettison Jason Roy and Alex Hales. Yes, I know you can talk about how their success was in the past, but I feel like England were definitely not the same England as of 2019. So the fact that they're going into it on their day, the likes of Wokes, Willie, Gus Atkinson, these guys are good enough to take anybody on. But you would back Pakistan's top three to give a platform in which hopefully we get to see Rizwan and Saud, and especially if Takhar and the others come in and do well. And then the reverse angle will be very important because England just haven't looked the same side with the bat also.
Hmm.
So the fact that you have Wasim and his accuracy, the fact that you have Shaheen hurting after going for, look, Shaheen Shah Afridi is too good a bowler to go for the most expensive figures in one day cricket in a World Cup for Pakistan. That's going to be playing on his mind, and he's going to want to go and show them who's boss. Especially, I think the fact that for Pakistan it becomes a straight kind of knockout game if the New Zealand result goes our way. If
Hmm.
New Zealand have a washout or lose to Sri Lanka, I feel you will see the guys lift their games up because it's an opportunity to get into the semifinals, and then it's anybody's game. Even if you are coming up against potentially a red hot Indian side who's chokehold over you in the World Cup is very high, you will feel to yourself. So there's a lot to play for. that top three comes into it, Wasim comes into it, and I know England will want to go out on a high, but at the same time, you kind of feel to yourself that if these guys click, and again, if Abdullah clicks in that game again, which, like you've said, he's had a really incredible World Cup. He's a
Yeah,
generational talent in the way that he came and took to Test cricket after what was it, four first class games or five, including
something like
like
that.
something like that. Six list A games before making his ODI debut. He looks the part. He looks comfortable. He brings a lot of class, a lot of finesse. If he's supporting Fakhar, while Fakhar is inshallah going on a rampage, and then there's Babar to come. And like you said, Babar looking good. For Babar, these potential 2-3 games may define his legacy.
Yeah.
If he's able to hit form at the right time, I know we're all sick and tired to death of the 92 parallels. But one of the things that Pakistan saw was that in 1992 also, when and where it mattered, Captain Khan promoted himself up to three and made the most telling contributions in the semi final, in the final, and also before that in the game against New Zealand.
Hmm.
So this is an opportunity for Babar, the one day cricket, and we've always maintained one day cricket is Babar's best format. As a
Yeah.
batsman, we feel that there's been very very few who have been better than him since his time has come. So they really look it, and for Wasim, I think the confidence he'll take, despite the fact that we went for 400 runs in taking those late wickets, some of those deliveries, the one that got Chapman,
Hmm.
absolute Jaffa. So he'll be backing himself. And I also want to talk about someone who is obviously getting a lot of criticism, and a lot of people are having, the doubts about him. But
We'll
he
get there,
remains
Hassan
an
Bhai.
incredible,
We'll,
yeah,
we'll we'll get to that player as well. Just to add a bit on Wasim Jr., the way he's getting the ball to reverse, and tail in, and he's bowling fuller length deliveries. Not many Pakistani bowlers are bowling fuller length deliveries. It's just Shaheen in the first two
no,
overs. Haris Rauf ne kasam khai hui hai ki nahi karani fuller length delivery. He's gotten a bit predictable, and I know you want to talk about him as well. And I love Haris
yeah,
Rauf.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
got no hate
Of
whatsoever for
course, we
Haris
all
Rauf,
do.
even if he's had a poor World Cup. But what Wasim Jr. has brought into the team is incisiveness. That's wicket
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
prowess. And if he gets those reverse swinging Yorkers to fire, then he's getting those wickets. He becomes quite unplayable, doesn't he?
Oh, well, you've seen it against Bangladesh. They couldn't get a hand to him. And against a side like New Zealand, which at one time, honestly, let's be honest, I felt they would have been disappointed with 400
Hmm.
because it was the way Wasim came in and the way he bowled those deliveries, and he was bowling Jaffas. And to end up with figures like that, twice in back to back games, take those wickets. I also feel Wasim has been a bit unlucky in the field. He's got a rocket arm, and he's been very unlucky that he's been so close to getting runouts. And I just feel if there's a possibility in the next game that if it's in his art, because he picks the ball up super fast, he throws it down. He's been so unlucky. I think he could even be that person who makes a difference in the field with the ability to get a run out from distance
Oh,
and all.
yes.
So
Bullet arm.
Wasim
Bullet
becomes,
arm.
yeah, he becomes extremely important. Good fielder. He's shown in the match that he can come in against South Africa also, and he's a big hitter of the ball. We've seen that. So I think it's true. I think Wasim takes on an important role with the struggles as far as the rest of the bowling attack are concerned. And I think he goes into that game with a lot of confidence, thinking to himself, right, on this track, I can get the ball to reverse. And like you said, I'll bowl fuller and against a lineup that maybe isn't as comfortable as they normally would be. So he'd be
Hmm.
feeling pretty confident.
All right, and now let's talk about Haris Rauf. I know you were wanting to talk about him earlier as well. Of course, he is in this team on merit. He's been a top performer for Pakistan limited overs cricket ever since he's joined the ranks, and he has struggled. Let's be honest, in the power play in
Yeah.
particular, आकर तीन चार चौके पक्के खाने होते हैं. He has gotten wickets here and there. He's had a couple of good games as well. Sometimes at the death, he's been particularly good, but it's just been very, very inconsistent stuff. And I mean, his economy rates have been quite high, which tell a story on their own. But Haris Rauf is still quality, and you'd still trust him to come good at some point.
You would also because one of the things is I think one of the first people to put their hands up and say it's not gone as well for him as it could be is Haris Rauf. He sets
Hmm?
incredibly high standards for himself, and he's struggled in those standards. He's had to do something different, bowl in the power play, bowl early. He's not been taking wickets in the middle overs. In the death, he's veered from being incredibly good as he was in one of the games to being really poor otherwise. the fact that batsmen are being able to take on his pace and get runs is a concern for him. But we know that on his day he remains incredible. And if Haris Rauf clicks, Haris is one of those players that if he has one of those days where everything falls in place for him, doesn't matter who he's playing, doesn't matter the surface, and doesn't matter what the scenario is. Haris, if I'm looking at a game, Behram, where we need to take 5 wickets and we've got the opposition has 30 runs in 10 to 15 overs. Haris and Shaheen are the guys I want bowling those overs. Haris, Shaheen, and Wasim. So Haris has the ability to make that, like he did against Bangladesh. So I think he will be hurting. He'll be upset. A lot of memes, a lot of talk about how he's gone for the most sixes and all. But all of that is irrelevant if he performs in the next potentially 3 games. So Haris has the ability to change the narrative around him in this World Cup. That's the beauty of knockout cricket. A lot of people forget that Wasim Akram was struggling till it came to the game against Australia in the 1992 World Cup. For someone of his caliber, he was not bowling anywhere near as well as he could have. 2 or 3 good games for Haris Rauf changes everything for Pakistan. I agree with you. He remains a match winner. He's having a tough time of it. He's struggling. But I agree with you. I back him to perform when it matters, and he could be a difference maker against England. Especially, we know that we need to win the game and go through. And they won't relish facing him. I know they'll be thinking. A lot of teams have said, "Oh, he's gone for runs." If he has his tail up and he's like, "Right, my redemption arc starts today," you don't want to be facing Haris Rauf. 150k is 150k. Doesn't matter the format, and he's good enough to make that difference.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. He is a match winner, and much like Fakhar, what he's doing with the bat, Haris Rauf can do similar things with the ball. The
Yeah,
only concern I
absolutely.
have is that look, the pace has been up. The pace is not a concern for me, but I think he's gotten a bit predictable with the back of the line deliveries. And I'm
Yes.
not saying
Yeah.
don't bowl
Yeah.
them, but thoda jaldi variation le aao maybe that could be a fix.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, if you bowl short and wide in the power play, you're going to get taken apart. Even outside the power play, you're going to get taken apart. And also they have had a tendency to stray down leg at times as well. So I think if he just remains a bit disciplined, Haris Rauf still has
Yeah.
what it takes to even get a lot of wickets on a batting surface. And I don't mind if you're going for 70, even 80 runs if you're getting 4 wickets, right? 4 to 5 wickets. I don't mind that. And I think that should be Haris Rauf's mindset. Incision, incision, incision. I'm here to take wickets. I'm like an old school throwback sort of strike bowler. Or hai wo. Pace is pace,
Yeah.
yar,
Yeah.
is Haris Rauf, right? So I hope he can. I really hope he can turn it around, and he definitely has the arsenal and capability to do exactly that. But yeah, you'd think they'd go with the four-prong pace attack. Or yeah, आप क्या सोच रहे हैं? Spinner लाना है इस वक्त कोई? Because Pakistan spinners. I mean, with no disrespect to Shadab Khan, who is a superstar for Pakistan cricket, and Osama Mir, who again is on merit. उसी पे आया हुआ है इस टीम में किसी को कोई सिफारिश नहीं लगी इधर ओसामा मीर की अपनी मेहनत पे आए हैं लड़के बट दे हैव हैड very very poor world cups and also the fact that at this point I'm thinking maybe Aryan Dutt of the Netherlands could shoe into Pakistan's 11, right? That's how bad
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
spin
Good.
reserves have been.
It has been. I think the only person, honestly, I can see coming in, and he doesn't come into the lineup as a spinner, is if you bring Shadab in for Salman, knowing that
Yeah.
he's not going to bowl that many overs because of
Mm-hmm.
what Shadab can do with the bat and what Shadab can do in the field. A
Yep.
fully fit and firing Shadab Khan is equal to 3 cricketers for
Yep.
Pakistan. And I know he's struggling with his bowling right now, but you can know that if Shadab comes in and he has one of those days where his rhythm is right, then what he brings to you with the bat and the ball in the field, there's very few like him in the Pakistan team that can do that role. So, and would it be grossly unfair to Salman? Not really, because he's not really had a chance to show what he can do with the bat. He has struggled a bit with the ball. He's done okay in the field, but if you're looking at it, in all honesty, uh, Shadab is an upgrade in all 3 things. I think we're not really going to see, unless it's an emergency, either one of Osama or Nawaz at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Not for a lack of effort, not for a lack of trying. Wonderful players, really good guys. Like you rightly said, they're on merit, but it
Yep.
you don't really see the team being better off, even in spinning conditions, with
Mm.
both of them being there. Especially how well your pace attack has done. And again, he gets a lot of criticism. He gets a lot of aggression from people. but an underrated performer for Pakistan consistently has been Hassan Ali. And again, in the big games, he's also got the ability, because you can't really replace him. You have no one else to bowl those opening overs. And
Hmm.
Hassan can be another who can get you those early wickets. Important guy with the bat lower down the order. So you would think it would be tough for Osama or Nawaz to get in. Nawaz would have the benefit of being a left armer, being obviously an all seen as more of an all rounder, even though Osama can bat. And while Pakistanis will never forgive him for it, he's shown after that
Hmm.
drop catch and taking all those catches, he
Yeah.
can field too. But I would see that, yeah, only Shadab is the only one I would see coming in, possibly. Hopefully, inshallah, he's fit enough. But yeah, you'd go with the four pronged pace attack, and why not? It's as Pakistani as anything, you know. When we talk about pace is Pakistani, and then I kind of think Harris's struggles remind me a lot of what Vakar Bhai went through in
Hmm.
that quarterfinal in Bangalore. He had bowled incredibly for 8 overs in that game, and then those last 2 overs when Ajay Jadeja took him on, everything, you know, just fell apart. So Harris needs to be able to go back and do what he's doing for 8 overs and forget about those. Harris is going for a lot of those last 2 overs right now, whereas we know with his pace and, like you said, incision and all. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. But
Hmm.
at the moment, can we do without spin? Yeah, why not? Why can't we? Especially, I think if, like you said, we take into factor things like due, we take into factor things like, opportunities. If you make it to the semi-final, do you think India is going to look at your spinners and quake in their boots? No, they're not. They're not going to
Yeah.
be worried about it for a minute. So you need to fight fire with fire, and their incredible batting lineup is something that your bowling lineup on their best days can put up a good fight against. And then there's the added safety net, Behram, of all of your bowlers being able to bat. All of
Hmm.
your, especially Wasim with his reverse, Hassan Ali with his ability with the bat, Shaheen. We've not seen the best of Shaheen as a batsman so far. So yeah, I don't see that. Only Shadab, because like we said, he's a 3D cricketer. It's
Yeah.
more than just his spin bowling. And Iftikhar has not done the worst job so far. So
If
if you need to
Fakhar
get
has been a
overs out
plus
of,
player, if Fakhar has been an out and
yeah,
out plus
yeah,
player for Pakistan in this World Cup, he's bowled well, he's batted pretty well for his role, I think. And it's interesting how, we viewed Nawaz as that cricketer. And I'm not saying Mohammad Nawaz is a bad cricketer. He
no,
had a lot
no,
of
yeah,
middle over wickets leading up to the World Cup, and then they just dried up during the World Cup. And a lot of things might have gone wrong over there. Maybe it's a confidence thing, maybe it's a conditions thing, maybe it's a rhythm thing, who knows? But we all know that Mohammad Nawaz is a better cricketer than this. God knows what's happened over there.
yeah,
But either way, they found a formula now. It might not be a winning formula just yet, but it could be. That's the point, right? It could be
could
a
be,
winning
yeah,
formula. And जिस तरह कुदरत का निज़ाम चल रहा है, you'd never know Pakistan might even be in those semi-finals. But I wouldn't like bet my money on it because conventional wisdom
no,
suggests that New Zealand will defeat Sri Lanka and Pakistan will need the rain gods to do another favor, or maybe Sri Lanka to like pull off a heist or something. So those things look unlikely, but it doesn't, cost money to dream.
no. It doesn't cost money to believe in Kudrat. Also, I think one of the things that I am a bit disappointed in is that we've not tried. Sometimes I felt we could have really done with a couple of overs trying Saud out against New Zealand.
Mm,
There's no harm, he can bowl, Fakhar can bowl. So if we are in a situation where spin comes into it, it's not like we lack the players that can't do it. If it's a wicket that suddenly, I mean, hey,
mm,
who would not want a repeat of the 1996 semi-final in Kolkata with India taking on an Asian opposition who bat first, and then the wicket goes to shit. Please excuse my French. In the second innings, and the spinners come on. You've got Fakhar Zaman doing a Jayasuriya, making a 50, and then coming on and bowling some overs. So we have the guys who can do it. Fakhar can bowl a couple of overs here or there. South can do it between them, and if you have Salman or Shadab or Iftikhar, that's enough guys to get through 10 overs when your pacers can do the rest. So I
mm,
wouldn't stress too much about it. I would not want to change this combo. And like you said, there's not a lot of teams going in with the four-man pace attack. Maybe South Africa at their best, kind of go into it. And because Keshav Maharaj does a bit of a holding role for them, and
mm.
Shamsi only takes wickets against Pakistan, so maybe they're thinking to themselves that we can go in with this. Yeah, if you're in a situation where you just need to beat England outright to go, why would you change this? And then if you have a semi-final, look, if again, You make the semi-final. You're taking on India, who are 8-0 against you. Nobody's giving you a chance in anything to take them on. You have nothing to lose going in with your four pacers and maybe bringing a fully fit Shadab back into the equation. You have nothing to lose. So Pakistan need to take it from here with that attitude that we have nothing to lose. It might, if we end up not getting there, not making the top four, we'll say we expected it anyway. And if we make the top four, that's a bonus. Make the
Mhm.
semi-finals is a bonus. Win a semi-final is a bonus. Win a final, it's a big bonus. So I honestly feel we have nothing to lose. And we go in with this thing, and I think we go in with the confidence of what these guys bring in. And at the same time, remember that we do have good quality backup. If it's a spinning wicket and you want to bring Nawaz in, like you rightly said, he's a really good cricketer and he's more than capable player. Shadab is an incredible player, but even if Salman plays, he's a good player. If Osama gets a chance, these guys are good enough and they're all there on merit and they're all more than capable. And again, this will not be popular with a lot of people because he's been getting a lot of grief, but don't forget that Imam was instrumental in you doing so well and being the number one ranked team in the world for a really long time in one day cricket with the way he's played, the record that he has. So all of them have something to give Behram. You don't know. They might you just need 3 games or 4 games for where they're all able to give it on the same day. So honestly, I think we've nothing to lose. We know the worst case scenario. We've
Yeah.
lived that worst case scenario throughout this World Cup most days. Most of us, are going back to our math and add math classes in school trying to figure it out. बट द बेस्ट केस सिनारियो इज देयर टू सो ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या हो जाएगा यार नहीं पहुंचेंगे
Hmm.
वो तो काफी देर से सोच रहे हैं साउथ अफ्रीका से
Hmm.
हारने के बाद हम सोच रहे हैं बिल्कुल नहीं पहुंचेंगे और बेस्ट हो जाएगा कि पहुंच जाएंगे एंड देन लिटरली इट्स कुदरत का निजाम literally it's just 2 games in which you could get luck. You could get a
Hmm.
situation. One of the things with one day cricket is sometimes the luck goes your way that you bat first, and then like you said, you're chasing and the due factor comes in, and the other really good team is left kind of helpless, like we saw. We talk a lot about 92. Let's talk about 96. We saw that in 96. Australia were probably one of the better teams. The way they won that semi final against the West Indies, they would have been more confident coming up against Sri Lanka. But had it not been for the dew, Australia would have given Sri Lanka a better fight. They put on a fighting total for that time. But Shane Warne kept saying, he wasn't able to hold on to the ball. Glenn McGrath couldn't do nothing. And then Aravinda De Silva in top form, Arjuna Ranatunga. You need one or two of those. Let's not forget the guys who got Sri Lanka to the semi-finals. They didn't perform. Jayasuri and Kalu Vidarana did nothing in those 2 games, but the other guys stepped up. So it's now important for players in the Pakistan team to step up and say, okay, if Fakhar has not been able to do it today, I'm going to be that guy who comes up and stands in and makes that contribution with the bat and the ball. So nothing to lose, Behram. We just go in, giving it our best shot. The worst case scenario, we've been living it since 2 weeks. I have at least. I've been preparing for the boys to come home for 2 weeks now. And the best case scenario is something we couldn't have even dreamed of. So what's there
Yeah.
to lose?
Definitely. And I mean, with all that's gone down back in Pakistan with the PCB and continues to go down, the players should feel that, they'll always have the fan support. And also, they don't have any baggage at this point. The worst, like you said, has already happened. And
Yeah.
even if they lose this game, they were in with a slim chance of making it to the semis anyway. So they just need to, go out and express themselves, play some smart cricket, look at matchups, look at key battles, look at the conditions, try to make the most of those conditions, try to optimally use your resources available to you, which is, again, not a very Pakistani thing to do, but it's never too late. It's never too late to fix
No.
that. Learn something from New Zealand. I mean, they've sometimes play with 3 bowlers and that's it. 20 ओवर पता नहीं कहाँ से निकालते हैं वो फिर भी किसी ना किसी तरह मैचेस जीत जाते हैं but anyway Pakistan have a golden opportunity here and all they really need to be thinking about is beating England. They do not have
Yeah,
any
that's
control
it.
over the weather,
Anything else?
Bengaluru ka, or even like whether or not Sri Lanka can defeat New Zealand. Give it your best shot. Come back with 5 wins out of 9. It's not the end of the world, and yeah, you
No,
can
it's
then
not.
rebuild and go into another.
Considering considering you don't play one day cricket for at least a year after that, come back with 5 wins out of 9, nothing to worry about. The slate starts from the beginning, and you got a long time before you need to fix that.
Yeah,
So again, like we said, nothing to lose. Only think about England right now. What you can control, what you can control.
yeah. Control
Don't
the
worry too much
controllables.
about Yeah, control the controllables. Don't worry too much about anything else. And look, as Pakistanis, one of the things we always say is, "वो तो लिखा था." So,
हम्म।
भाई अगर लिखा था तो लिखा हुआ है. जो भी लिखा है वही होना है.
वैसे
And
हसन
like you
भाई जो
said, play
चीजें
smart.
जिस तरह चीजें चल रही है ना, लग तो रहा है कुछ मैजिकल लिखा हुआ है, मगर can't dare to say it just yet. Need some
You
things to
can't.
happen before we can say
You
it.
do, but it's just so strange how it keeps happening to us, Baram. It
Hmm.
keeps happening. I think we kind of start losing faith in this team and the sport, and then it finds ways to bring it back. And uh, there are some genuinely intelligent and very articulate kind of people in cricket who don't believe in this, turning around saying, "No, no, 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 this doesn't make any sense. What's going on?" So even when you kind of see them believing in it, when you're thinking that Michael Vaughan is thinking about it and Harsha Bogle is thinking about it,
Well, I mean,
so
Hassan bhai, it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't.
yeah,
Pakistan should not be in contention for the semi-finals at all. They should not,
no.
but they are.
Shouldn't have been in '92 also. When you keep
Hmm.
looking at it, I keep hearing from someone that New Zealand didn't want to beat you because they wanted a home semi-final, and then Australia had no reason to beat the West Indies, and yet it all worked out for you. So, like you said, play smart cricket. Just think about England right now. Think about the day. It's not the end of the world if you win and don't make it. It's not the end of the world if you do make it. Just take it one game at a time. And like you said, with everything that's been going on at home and everything that's been going on throughout this World Cup, and there's been lots of those moments of talk about the pressure and how uniquely difficult it is for Pakistan compared to other sides, and the whole situation in the match against India and everything. Uh, it's been a pretty tough time for these boys. They're there, they're not with family. We don't really have. We've gotten some incredible support from Indian fans, but we don't have
Yes.
our own fans in these stadiums. And
I think
I
it's
think
worth
Ben,
mentioning, actually. It's worth
it
mentioning in this
is,
podcast that barring Ahmedabad, the Indian support, outside of the stadia, inside the stadia, it's been phenomenal. And they've cheered for
it has,
Pakistan. I've heard them cheer for Babar, for Fakhar. I've even heard the Dil Dil Pakistan song at this point, and even Jazba Junoon.
yeah,
And I think that for all the negativity out there on the internet, and of course, Ahmedabad was ugly, right? There was some really, really
yeah,
crass
yeah,
chants
of
going on.
course.
That should not overpower all the good support and love that Pakistan's players have received from India. Hyderabad, Kolkata, Bengaluru, Chennai. You guys have been fantastic. If any of you guys are
They've
watching
been
the show,
incredible.
lots of love from us for sure.
Absolutely, and not only have they been incredible, they've been, they've kind of summed up what Indian fans are like: passionate about the game, happy to see good cricket, supporting a team even though they're rivals. A lot of them saying, I don't I don't support Pakistan when they play India, but I'm happy to see Pakistan do well when they don't play India, and that's how it should be,
Yeah,
And
right?
we see, and as a lot of us, I've been very happy to see a lot of young Pakistani fans, a lot of older Pakistani fans, Pakistani cricket fans in general, really appreciate what is looking like a once in a generation Indian team, an
Hmm.
incredible side, and appreciate their performances and appreciate how well they're doing, and laud them, guys like Virat Kohli getting his 49th 100 on his 35th birthday. So it's good to see this because,
Yeah.
like we keep reminding everyone at the end of the day, it is just a game.
Hmm.
And the fact that it's sport is a vehicle to bring people closer, it's an opportunity to do this. So for these guys, there's so much writing on it, Baram, because just to put it out there in the universe, people can make video clips about this later and beat me up with it. I don't care. But just to put it out in the universe, if Pakistan do go on, pull a miracle somehow, and win the lot, it'll it'll easily be the greatest ever sporting achievement in the history of Pakistan, and nobody will ever better it. Not just because of the situation where they've come from, but the idea. I mean, when we look back at the Pakistan teams that have won in India, we look back at the Nehru Cup winning side. We look
Hmm.
back at the side that won, the Test matches in Chennai and Kolkata in '99. We look back at the team in '87 that won the first ever series in Bangalore. We look at the
Yeah.
team under Inzamam ul Haq that drew
Hmm.
the Test series and won the One Day series. Those sides are still talked about today, Behram. They're
Yeah.
still feted today. Rana Naveed Hassan is a hero because of the wickets he got
Hmm.
against India in that series. Everybody remembers Shahid Afridi's 100 in Kanpur, probably more than his record breaking 100 in Nairobi. You
Yeah.
know, everybody, even though he's become an absolute bigot, but everybody remembers Danish Kaneria bowling those overs in that Test match in Bangalore. Everybody remembers sort of Ganguly just standing there when Lala bowled him, just wondering to himself, what has happened to me here? It was lovely to see Moin Bhai the other day on the show talking about the fact that Ganguly couldn't believe that he got caught off a clear bump ball, but there was no DRS or third. So all of those things remain with us and we remember them. And for Indian fans, it goes the same way. They remember the 2004 side that came here and won a one-day series for the first time, one test. So for these boys, it's three, possibly three games,
Hmm.
and an opportunity to make the kind of history that no one else has ever made before or may ever make before. They have
Yeah,
nothing to lose, Behram. They just have to go out there, try to play their best cricket, and we know that when they play their best cricket, they're good enough to take on anyone. And then, you could have a rain affected game against India in a possible semi-final, and it might go your way. One of the things I found very interesting was when India were having a bit of a struggle against England, and Vikrant Gupta saying that he doesn't like India playing on these two pace surfaces because he feels it kind of weakens them a little bit. You never know. And look, all of this might be a moot point. New Zealand thrash Sri Lanka, we lose to England, everybody else goes on and does whatever. But
yeah,
till that opportunity is alive, till that opportunity is there, keep trying, keep pushing, keep hoping. That's what life is all about, right? Hope.
yeah.
Hoping and waiting for these incredible possible scenarios. That's why we watch this sport.
Exactly, and that's why we're recording this podcast as well, which has gone way over time. But honestly, it was always meant to
Sorry,
be a
guys.
vibes podcast. So that's exactly what it was. And cherish this moment, right? We might be knocked
Yeah,
out
yeah,
as soon as
yeah.
New Zealand defeats Sri Lanka. You never know. So cherish
No.
this moment and support Pakistan. And even though, like Hassan Bhai said, it's just a sport, treat it as such. But yeah, get on those prayer mats, whatever religion you follow. Pray for rain. Pray for a Sri Lanka win, get Pakistan into a position where if they defeat England, they can get into the semi because that's what we all want to see. That's what the World Cup needs. It needs the group stages to go right down to the wire because that's where the viewership's at, right? So do it for the broadcasters. Don't do it for us or Pakistan. Play those prayers for the broadcasters. That's what I'm going to say
And
here.
do it, guys. Do it for look. Maybe why it happened today. Maybe there's an Angelo Matthews 100 waiting against New Zealand because of what happened today. May there
Yeah.
be justice for Angelo Matthews. So I believe in that. Support him, and you never know. Because there's a lot riding on the game for Sri Lanka too, Behram. If they don't make it into the top, if they finish at the bottom, they don't qualify directly for the Champions Trophy. So there is
Yep.
a lot riding on the game for them too. And wouldn't it just be so typical, hopefully, of New Zealand playing incredible cricket, doing so well, and coming so close, and yet failing? So you never know. You just
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
you never know with these things. And just like Pakistan has lost 4 games in a row, so have New Zealand, right? They've lost 4 big ones in a row. So you have to take those
Yeah,
things into account as well. And sure, Pakistan might not look like the best team, but then again,
no,
that's what
no.
makes sport beautiful and narratives beautiful and these great escapes and written in the stars type of stories. Leicester winning the Premier League, Chelsea winning the Champions League the way they did.
Yeah,
There's so many examples.
yeah,
United winning the treble. I mean, I'm throwing
yeah.
that in for you, Hassan Bhai. I hate United, but
Of course, I don't
anyway,
like Chelsea either, but that's how it works.
anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast, Hassan Bhai. It was an absolute privilege to be doing this with you after a long time. And the OG fans will remember our shows from back in the day, but it just felt right, right? The moment felt right.
It did. Thank you so much, Behram. I couldn't have asked for a better person to do this with. It's just always wonderful. And it just kind of fitted the moment, right? And
Hmm.
hopefully we're looking back at this in what is it, 2 weeks and just telling ourselves, hey, we lit the fuse and the boys went on and turned it into a fire. So
Yeah,
just
the
keep
entire
hoping,
purpose of
keep
this
praying.
podcast is to, send good juju towards the team. That's what we're trying to do.
Yes. Yeah.
And on that note, sending good juju, we'll call it a day or call it a night. It's quite late actually. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
catch you again soon. We were not creating some content in between because we had to sort some stuff out at grassroots cricket, but we'll be back, churning out regular content for you guys. So if you like this sort of stuff, like this video, subscribe to the channel and tell your friends about it. And we'll catch you soon enough. That's all for today. Goodbye.